Hi, everybody. I'm Johnny Miller. I'm one of the co-founders at AxonOps. Been using Cassandra for a very, very long time. Uh, Various different places, various different use cases. Spent some time with data stacks as well. I know a lot of people from there. And yeah, my role is really trying to bring tooling to the kind of community in Cassandra. So yeah, that's me.
Hi there, and thank you, Johnny. My name is Hayato Shimizu. Been using Cassandra since 2008 or 9-ish, and joined DataStax. Patrick McFadden, he's the one who interviewed me to join DataStax back in 2013. So he's on this call here. Hi, Patrick. Yeah, I'm one of the co-founders of AxonOps and the main author of cqlai. So here we are.
Excellent. Well, it's great to have you both. So, hey, feel free to share your screen, and I think we can just get to it.
Okay. Will I go first?
Yeah, go for it, Johnny.
All right, because I have some slides. There we go. Hold on. Uh, this is the problem with having just wiped and rebuilt your laptop. There you go. Can you see those?
Yep.
Cool.
Yep, I
Awesome.
see them.
Brilliant. All right. So yeah, AxonOps Workbench and cqlai. This is what some of the tools myself and Hayato have been kind of working on for a while. I think they're both projects of passion in what they're doing. And these are 100% free, Apache licensed, open source tools. Workbench is a purpose-built desktop application for Windows, Linux, Mac. It's like something you run on your desktop to connect up to your Cassandra cluster. And cqlai is a CLI that's an alternative to CQSH, addressing a lot of the kind of problems people have around CQSH, plus a whole bunch of features as well that Hayato will take you through. So, I'll start with AxonOps Workbench, and please, if anybody has any questions or comments or criticisms as I talk, feel free to butt in and ask questions. So, Workbench, you can actually you'll find it's version 1.07 found a bug in zero six, so quickly released 0.7. So if you are already installing it, make sure to take 0.7. But what is it? So it's a open source desktop app. It's been built specifically for Cassandra. It's up there on GitHub. It's Apache licensed, and we produce native Windows, Mac, Linux builds, and it works with the various supported databases, including Cassandra, DataStax Enterprise, AstroDB. Thank you, Patrick, for your help with that as well. And the purpose of the tool is really to solve a bunch of problems, I'll say personally, I had with all of the kind of clusters I connected up to. So one of them was this, having to remember where all of my connection details were, crawling across wikis, because we look after a lot of Cassandra clusters. We're connecting up all the time to everything. So I wanted to create a kind of a workspace that would allow me to store those connections and safely commit them into source control and share amongst the teams, but still securely, not like store passwords in Git and things like that. So there's a whole kind of concept of a workspace to share connections, share SQL snippets, and lots of other interesting things as well. The other thing it does is how it connects. So it's connecting directly from your desktop network across to the target Cassandra cluster. So obviously you've got to have a line of sight to connect in. And it will also, it supports SSH tunneling as well. So if you have like a bastion or you've got SSH access in, you can connect, the application will open up an SSH tunnel and then you can connect over that tunnel into it. Um, we've added a much more kind of desktop, good UX type of enhanced SQL console that has a whole bunch of features and everything like that that we'll go through and show you. And there's some extra stuff around query tracing and rendering that stuff into pretty pictures to understand what's going on. So yeah, up there, GitHub, completely free. We're really looking for people to get involved. You don't have to implement it, but you have an idea for a feature or something like that, kick off a discussion on the GitHub project, please. And we'd love to get that kind of engagement and feedback on the tool. But so first of all, why did we decide to build this? So I've used a lot of different tools to connect up, your IDEs, VS Code, DBBeaver, all these different things. And a lot of them they're okay, but I really wanted to build something specifically for Cassandra that's exposing all of the Cassandra features. It natively connects properly to Cassandra. It's not going through a JDBC type of shim or anything else. It's just a straight up correct connection, just like you would do with cqlai. So, and then we wanted to make sure. So I spent a lot of time helping teams learn Cassandra, adopt Cassandra, and there was always this kind of barrier to entry. I just want to connect up and have a play and generate some CQL. So a lot of the stuff in the UX on the tool is intentionally designed not just to allow you to do stuff, but also to show it to you. And so you can see the CQL, you can take that CQL, you can understand it, you can alter it, etc. And very much improve the whole kind of collaboration and education on Cassandra. It's not feature complete. There's a lot of features in Cassandra, but we're getting there. We're getting through them all. Give us some time. You'll have kind of all the necessary, everything exposed and bubbled up in there as well. And that's why we built it. Great feedback we've had from people who are using it. Patrick McFadden, I think he's here on the thing. He loves it. A colleague of mine, Raj Prakash, I've been working with him out in India and Accenture. He uses and his team uses it to connect up with Cassandra and various other comments there. So it's being used. It's out there. People are downloading it, using their clusters, enjoying it, and we're hoping to kind of just keep adding more and more features and try and keep up with all the cool stuff in Cassandra.
I approve, Johnny. I'll say it. I'll for the recording. Yes, I approve this statement.
Yeah. But it also, I mean, Patrick, you must have seen it yourself. It's when you go to someone who's completely new to it, isn't familiar with anything, and they just can I just put something on my desktop to connect up and start using it.
Well, I mean, yeah. This is sorry, we're on the unscripted part, but hey, it's a small team, right?
Yeah.
The thing that is really interesting to me is how much this has been a missing element. But we had, what was it, Dev Center back in the day, data stacks, and it was so popular, but it just kind of died off. And I think the conversation you and I had was, what can we do to? You're like, I want that back.
Yeah.
Hold my beer.
Indeed. Actually, I'll tell you what. One interesting thing is to actually discuss up, because we're talking about the app, is actually how the app is built. So the Dev Center and things like that were built on top of a kind of like an Eclipse IDE type of thing, which is quite productive. You get a lot of features with that. The way we've built Workbench, which I think is quite cool, is essentially we have an Electron app where we do all the cool stuff you can do in Electron and with JavaScript and such. And then running inside the Electron app, we actually have cqlsh running, as in the same cqlsh that is bundled with Cassandra. A couple of small little changes to help with the integration. So even though it's Workbench on top, the actual underlying engine is still Python cqlsh, which gets kind of packaged up and bundled with the application. So there's quite a mix in there. It's been quite an interesting app to build as well. But little side issue there. But anyways, so looking at time, please stop me, interrupt me, Hayato, when you're good to go and you want me to stop talking. Just tell me. So there's a lot. I have to say, there's a lot of features in the tool. The documentation isn't great, as in I haven't produced it, but the idea is that it should be. I take a leaf out of Apple. the UX, you should just be able to use it and understand what's going on. That's my mantra. Who needs to read the docs anyway? But there's a ton of features, yeah, and they're all geared up just to make your life easier as a developer or a DBA as well. And we've got plenty more to come. So got some screen recordings here of how you get essentially get in and connect up. When you launch the app, they'll tell you updates. This is an old video, as I said, 1.0.7. But then you go in and you can create the workspace, and the workspace is really the place where all of your connections are going to be, and it creates a directory on the file system, and then you can actually add that workspace into your GitHub and commit it in. So you can choose path, add that workspace, give it a pretty color if you like, and then click add workspace. And then you have the AxonOps kind of workspace in there. You go into there, connect up. This is where you start adding connections, and you're entering all of the necessary credentials to connect up. We support the SCB thing from Astra as well, but you give the IPs, give it a name, data centers, all that kind of stuff. Interesting feature we added there was around connection time. You can choose to use desktop connection time or coordinated connection time, but then you connect up and it gives you that typical kind of tree view of your cluster, your data centers, your racks, your nodes, and you can go in there and start kind of querying, getting back your SQL description. That is an entirely searchable as well. You can search through the SQL that gets pulled in and in there as well. So pretty obvious stuff. Connect up. You can go through a tunnel. You add the creds. All of that config is perfectly happy to go into Git. All the passwords that are essentially what we do is when the application installs for the first time, we generate a key that gets stored in your keychain, and then essentially the two different processes, the Electron and Python processes, interact with the keychain to get the key, and everything gets encrypted. So all of the values are kind of like your usernames and passwords are encrypted with that key in the keychain. So it's pretty secure for the connection, but away you go. We have this is interesting. This is what I was mentioning before, allowing you to choose the server time. The drivers can be a bit confusing around which time you want to use as well. And essentially, you can create like SSH tunnels. So you want to put in the SSH details that you're using to connect. And that, again, that will all get kind of stored in the source control. So it's pretty advanced in terms of the connection, SSH tunnels. Also on the SSL side, it supports obviously connecting over SSL, but also if you do have client certificate validation, or you want to validate the certificates that you're using, we'll do all the good stuff in there. So when you get it into source control, you can go in there and here's that workbench being created. There's all the kind of configuration files that were done. You pull that in, and then you see the new stuff that's been in there, and then you just refresh the workspace, and you'll see that new connection that someone has kind of already connected in, and then you would go into that connection, have to enter your credentials to connect in, but you can see the gist of it is to share it between people. We also have this feature that allows you to start up clusters locally on your desktop. It uses either Podman, which I thoroughly recommend. It's Apache licensed. It doesn't have the licensing restrictions that Docker has, or Docker. And basically, you can use this to say, I want to fire up a Cassandra 5, Cassandra 4, whatever cluster, and play around with it, interact with it in there on your desktop. So you can, if you want to experiment, do things, whatever you like, run node tool commands. It opens up a bash terminal onto the container. You can play around with the cluster as well when you're doing that. So that's quite useful for experimenting. I think I've got a request, Patrick, from a feature to add in also putting down the latest nightly build of the Cassandra project into a container, so you can actually bundle it, package it up, bring it down, and just interact immediately with the nightly build. So that's on our kind of to-do list as well. Then, as you'd expect, we have all the kind of right-clicky stuff, creating key spaces, creating tables, running DQLs, DMLs, whatever you like. You give it a thing. We give you some helpful hints. So you select simple strategy. Don't do that. It's not good for production. And again, this is part of their kind of education aspect is we kind of give hints to people. And again, you see the CQL. So we're not hiding the CQL from the people. And then there you go. You see it getting executed. You get your new key space created in there. So same thing with creating tables. You can right click, you go into DDL, you can then create tables. We also support counter tables, give it a name, and we give you a nice UX around constructing the partition keys, the clustering columns, the orderings of them, listing all the different data types that you can choose. And again, really making it informative to people. So when you add a clustering column, you see you've got ascending or descending. Give it a name. In there, pick a type, say date, and then change those types whatever you like, and change the ordering of the clustering column as well. But yeah, so that's all the necessary stuff to create your tables, create your key spaces, a nice UX, and again showing you all of the kind of features of it. User-defined types. Used to not be a fan of UDTs, but then I worked with a chap who loved them. So I figured let's get all the support for UDTs. So all of the necessary things for creating your UDTs are in there, the fields. And again, when you create the UDTs, you can then obviously use them when you're creating tables, you'll see them in the GUI to add UDT types as well. So you can really manage your UDTs to your heart's content if that's something you like to use. Again, similar kind of stuff. We do all the DQL. You see select or select as JSON as well. And then we give you all of the nice GUI options to enter the fields, data types, choose the columns you want to select, any extra options that you can use like limits or aggregate functions. You can pass in there as well. And then again, you switch back and you see the CQL. We're going to do some more work on this to actually give you that kind of prepared statement, kind of extract it and copy it to bring it in. Because often, if you think about nested collections of UDTs, etc., generating the CQL for your kind of selects and inserts can be quite difficult. And again, here you're seeing allow filtering, which is, and again, we give you the warning saying, be careful, you can do it, but do you really want to do it? Again, and then pop into the allow filtering. There's more to come on the selects, but they're pretty comprehensive. And I made sure to put the select as JSON because a lot of people don't know that exists as well. But when they come back in the GUI, you can then also extract those results from the GUI to CSV or PDF as well from there. So it will pull the results down into file on your desktop. Query tracing. Query tracing is useful. It also can be a bit, how do I say, hard from the query trace that you get back from cqlai to understand what's going on. But we've added some extra nice way of rendering the query trace. So you get back that little icon of tracing's on, click on that, and then we give you a nice GUI representation of the query trace. And then you can again filter that, order it, click on nodes to figure out where everything is, and then that allows you to try and work out, what is the specific one. So you can say, okay, what's happening in that data center, and then you can check all that kind of stuff too as well. And if you click on one of the nodes, you'll see you can actually go in and start filtering on the nodes. So this is quite useful. I would really appreciate feedback on this. What other kind of things people would like to see in there, and once we have some good, cool AI stuff coming as well. And we're looking to put that query trace into a kind of an AI, which will analyze it and allow you to give you some good insights into what it means as well. So that's coming too. Other things, doing the DMLs for all of the necessary stuff for creating and altering key spaces, everything like that. But the other thing that we did, and this was hard, we try to do all the kind of right-click generate inserts in there as well. So inserting, as you can see there, we give you a nice GUI to allow you to all the fields you might want to do, select. We give you kind of little helpful kind of calendars for dates and things like that. But what was hard here was actually the lightweight transactions aspect to give it a decent kind of user experience on, and there you can see selecting UDTs, different options, pick a date time for your select if you want to. You can do that. It will work out the correct times in there. But then, and then here you can use this to kind of figure out the get back the ATL, and then we give you the CQL in there for generating the inserts with the TTL. So, and it's quite useful. I'm sorry, it's cut off on the video as well. But the lightweight transactions, this was was hard and confusing because there's a lot of weird things with lightweight transactions, but we've given the ability for you to kind of a nice GUI to work them out, to find the consistencies. We also give you hints if you choose, the wrong consistencies or if you don't understand. We give you little tool tips that explain the thing. Again, that's part of the kind of education, and we'll be putting more of these little tool tips around the app for kind of confusing features to just help people kind of learn in there. But then, yeah, it works it out. Also validates in the GUI, hold on, that you can't use a lightweight transaction with that insert time to live. So get rid of that as well. So we do some upfront validation, and then you execute that, and there you get back you have your insert with the TTL. So when you're using UDTs, things like that, this is quite useful for the CQL. Again, you'll see in the enhanced console all the kind of autocomplete things that you'd expect to see. It should work. It's been a bit tricky, I have to say, the autocomplete stuff. And then we have all sorts of little buttons that show you all the different kind of options for things you can do, your statement history, running them as well. But we also have this feature, and also you can right click on get all the kind of recopy the CQL, execute it again, all this stuff. We have this feature called CQL snippets, which is a way for you to create CQL and associate them with any object in the database. So say you have, I don't know, this is the query to run this is the thing to run if this happens. You can put that against the table. You can give it a kind of a helpful description in there. And then you can also add tags to it. So, and all of these are searchable as well. So you can create your own tags, and then you're basically annotating these CQL snippets in there. And the cool thing about this is this also gets stored in your workspace. So when you create new ones, you commit that to source control. You're maintaining this nice little library of whatever queries that everybody wants to use, and they're all in there. So that was a useful feature that came from somebody asking for it as well. So yeah, quite handy there. So we also have the kind of things in the app that you'd want around logging and auditing and security stuff. So if you want, you can record everything that Workbench is doing in the app, stores it out to that log folder. We also have a feature around doing diffs on the schema. It's a little bit ugly at the moment because it's in JSON, but we will be making this more visual. But one of the problems I had was, I do a release, make a change, come back the next day, has somebody made a change? Yes or no? So you have the ability to create a JSON object snapshot of the key space. And we chose JSON because it's deterministic. If you're doing the described key space, first of all, it's kind of painful doing diffs on CQL, put it in JSON, it's easier, but also it's deterministic because if sometimes different clusters, that things aren't ordered correctly, different versions, things like that. So we use JSON for the ordering. So if I then go and make a change, I can go back in, do the schema diff, and you'll see do a little refresh of the metadata, and then it will compare the thing, and then you can see the change that was made in the schema. So good. What I built this for, so you make a change, snapshot, that JSON gets stored in the workspace, again, gets committed to source control as well and shared. So you can keep this as your kind of audit of what the heck happened and so. So we also have, if you're using AxonOps for the kind of monitoring and alerting of your cluster, it also supports integrating with that. And what we do there is you have the ability to look at various dashboards around your tables, your key spaces, your cluster, and give you all those kind of metrics. And these are a cut down version of the metric, but it's got the idea is that you're a developer, you want to know what's going on, you click, load the dashboard, and it gives you back kind of relevant kind of 5-day metrics and such. And if you look at it, say the cluster dashboard, it's showing you all that. So that's in there just to help with the kind of observability on your cluster also. So there's a lot more. We have DRM. So we have the ability to essentially you can enable DRM in the app and it hooks into the Windows and Mac DRM. So you can't screen share. So if you try to screen share it, it would be blue. And it's protected, but you need to have admin permissions to disable the features. So security things like that, the exports. We also can, on your result sets that come back, you can actually right click on the result set in the Enhance console and generate the insert statement for that select as well. So that's quite useful if there's some rows you want to, or how do I insert to this table, but essentially do a select, get the rows of data back. We support multiple languages. So there's from English to Galician. One of my colleagues is Galician. And so if you are Galician, you have a translated UI, but like also a language like Arabic, Hebrew, Chinese, things like that. So, which was interesting from the UX and the kind of way things kind of justify on the things. But and we've got plenty more to come. A lot more on the right clicky. We've been kind of it's a painful thing, but there is a lot more on the right clicks that we're going to be doing. Right clicking, creating indexes, all that kind of stuff. A kind of much more contextual altering of the key spaces as well. So plenty more to come. And also one of the things I'm looking forward to is I get asked this a lot around ACLs, managing users, who has access to what, creating roles, assigning permissions. So we're going to build a nice UX around granting permissions. And then also the ability to generate a report to go, okay, right click on a table and go, well, who has access to this table and things like that. So there'll be deeper integration on that side as well. So really want to get involved. There it is on GitHub. We're coming up with features ourselves from the team, from our clients, adding them in there. But if there's anything else you'd like to see in there, please kick off a discussion. We really want to make it driven by the community. And we're also happy for people to contribute, add features, get involved as well. So in any way, but we're keeping at it. We're really enjoying it. We are finding it's helping people do it. So AxonOps is quite keen to kind of just keep pushing on this project because it's proven to be quite useful. So that's Workbench, and I'll hand you over to Hayato, and he can talk about cqlai. Or if anybody has any questions on Workbench, I'd be happy to answer. Comments, feedback, why did you do this? Things like that. Stunned silence.
Everyone's on mute.
Yeah.
All right. Well, let's move on to cqlai, and perhaps we can take the questions at the end. So let me just share my screen. So I've taken Johnny's slide templates. Let me share. Click share. All right. So all good. You can see the slide. Cool. All right, let's get started then. cqlai. So as with the AxonOps Workbench for Cassandra, it is also a kind of open source Apache 2.0 licensed product. So I probably named it wrong because people think it's an AI product, and it actually isn't. AI is just a bit of an extension to it, but it is a purpose-built CLI for Apache Cassandra. So we've got cqlsh, and people might think, why bother? So this session is about why bother, and I'll demonstrate the product. So cqlai, so it's essentially a SQL shell written in Golang, and it is an open source Apache 2.0 licensed product, as I mentioned. It is hosted on GitHub. It's got all of the kind of CI in there in the GitHub actions as well, so everything gets built. pushed out as various binaries for Windows, Mac, and Linux of various architectures. And so you'll be able to download it from GitHub. But we've also got the Yum apt and Docker repositories which we host, and you should be able to do apt install type of operations for cqlai. And currently, well, I've just tested against Apache. I've been testing against Apache Cassandra, but there's no reason why it wouldn't work with DataStax Enterprise or any other kind of CQL compliant databases, namely key spaces or even Yugabyte CQL or even SealerDB. There's a number of kind of CQL compliant databases out there. So I don't see why it wouldn't work, but yeah, it would be interesting to hear from the community out there to get the product testing against them. All right. So why? Well, we've got CQLSH already. And my kind of personal experience with the cqlsh is that every time I want to use it, it's like a whole installation of Python and the dependencies and different distributions. Some Python pip doesn't work when you're kind of a root or the non-root user, and you've got to create virtual env. It's just every single fresh install, I've got to kind of have the different kind of automation as to deploy cqlsh command line. And this was just kind of a get into me after a while. And I just wanted a single executable binary that gets installed on a Linux machine that does the CQLSH. And that's always been kind of my wish list. And the distribution, as I said, I just want to install CQLSH on some of the Linux boxes. I don't need the Cassandra installation along with it as well. I just want a single binary on my Mac or Windows. Actually, I'm using Windows these days, believe it or not. The other aspect of the CQLSH is that it has started to feel a bit dated now. I know, kind of, was it Tyler Hobbs who put in a lot of effort into building CQLSH in the first place? I think he's kind of doing graphic things these days, but anyway, yeah, it just feels a little bit dated, and it does struggle with kind of tables with wide number of many columns, and the way it displays isn't particularly great. If you do the expand mode, that's fine, but then you're not seeing kind of a tabular fashion anymore. So I really wanted kind of a terminal application where I could actually kind of see the tables in a tabular structure without too many struggles. So it's really kind of a self-indulgent project for myself as to all of the shopping list of what I wanted as a CQLSH user, and essentially decided, okay, perhaps I'll build it. And I guess one of the triggers really is inspiration as well. CQLSH, it is the main inspiration of cqlai. It's meant to be a drop-in replacement. So you can just drop it in and your existing cqlshrc file still works. Although cqlai has got its own kind of a JSON config as well, but the old RC format still works with it. But one of the things that I kind of got me thinking about building the new cqlsh or cqlai is the submission of the GoSQL driver into the Apache project. Now, I've been using GoSQL driver for AxonOps, and it's been great for us. But I think that was one of the kind of a trigger point of thinking, wow, that's really great that it's got submitted to Apache, and perhaps what else can I use it for? And the thing that I came up with is the CQLS AI. And the other thing that kind of inspired me was the Bubble Tea TUI framework. It really is a simple way to build a beautiful TUI or terminal UI applications. And I thought, well, why don't I just try and combine the two and see if I can build the replacement of CQLSH? And obviously, everyone's talking about AI. And I thought, well, you know what? Whilst I'm at it, why don't I put in some kind of AI integration? It's an optional thing, optional AI integration, to see if I can interact with Apache Cassandra with using kind of natural language. And although I don't need it personally myself, but some beginners may find the kind of natural language interactions quite useful. It doesn't actually kind of keep the CQL transparent. It generates the CQL for you from the natural language, and then asks you whether you want to execute that CQL statement. So that's how it's been built.
Didn't you also put in some warnings as well on kind of
Yeah.
yeah,
That's it. So there are warnings as to kind of when you're dropping key spaces, or yeah, we've been there. We dropped the key space in production by accident, sort of thing, using the command line, and so it's got a warning to stop you. Kind of asks you a question. Are you sure you want to drop a key space, sort of thing as well. So those are some of the features that are in there. Okay. And yeah, so that was my own mistake of dropping something in production by mistake. And thankfully, we got the auto snapshot featuring Apache Cassandra, so we were able to restore from the snapshots very quickly. But there we go. I don't want to repeat that mistake ever again, right? So cool. Yeah, so features. So single binary distribution. So yeah, no dependencies. Everything's included in single binary. So it's Golang application, and it's actually kind of quite nice to be able to work like that with cqlai. Rich terminal UI, so TUI. So vertical and horizontal scrolling for table view within the terminal window. Mouse support to be able to scroll up and down or sideways using the modifier key. And things like the sticky header and footer showing kind of various information about the connection that you've got. So with a cqlsh, it's just like a flow of information. But with a cqlr, you've got the header and the footer showing you information about the connections things. So those are some of the kind of shopping lists for myself as well, and things like command line history viewer that rather than just kind of pressing up and down to see the history, it'll show me a list using Control R if you yeah, and the standard kind of key combinations. Text navigations like Vim style key bindings and things like that. I'm so used to Vim, and those are some of the key bindings I wanted. Data import and export. I wanted to make it as simple as possible as well. So you can import and export to and from CSV, JSON, but also Apache Parquet. So these days it's kind of nice to be able to have dump the data in Apache Parquet format for various other tools that you may have in your enterprise, and load the data in. One of the things that I wanted as well is the ability to save my session history, including all of my queries and the data. So having that facility in there, and I'll demonstrate that as well. And then Cassandra 5 support. So, the new kind of SAI, storage attached index, and vector support as well. And I think, it is kind of supported in CQLSH, but it just didn't feel quite as fully featured in CQLSH. And given the fact that Go CQL 2.0 driver fully supports vector and SAI, I wanted to leverage that kind of a driver features into the terminal application. And the AI integration, which is if you put in the API key for OpenAI or Gemini or the Claude, then you can have this kind of natural language CQL interaction. Although this is completely optional, you don't need this feature for CQL AI to work. And so most enterprises wouldn't allow you to do this, but if you got your local LLM, you could even connect to that as well, because it'll be OpenAI API compliant. So Yeah, there's that. So if you've got a beefy machine locally, then you could be running your LLM. Um, Johnny knows a bit more about running your LLM on the local machines, but yeah, there we
So
go.
you can, if you pop your own, whether it's Llama or you deploy something with Llama C++ or whatever, you can kind of within your own space, your own environment, make sure nothing goes out beyond it. It's pretty straightforward.
Right. So then, where are we? Next page. So I guess it's not a sophisticated product like the Workbench. It's just a terminal application, but it's worth kind of a demo to people out there. So let me just stop sharing this window and share my screen. Terminal application. So here's my terminal. All right. So, as I said, it's compatible with the cqlai file, but it's got its own format as well, and it's got the cqlai JSON format. Oops, cool layout. Cat cqlai JSON.example. I'm not going to show you the real file because it's got my own AI keys in there. But yeah, you can do all of the kind of configurations for host and port, and you can do SSL, and it all goes into the JSON file. Documentation is available on the GitHub page, so if you're interested, you can see the full documentation of how this JSON is constructed. But yeah, the interesting bit might be this bit where you can provide Anthropic or OpenAI or any others, and then you can just pick one of the
You can,
connections.
you can
Okay.
override the URLs as well, can't you, for kind of open API compatible interfaces?
Yeah, so yeah, if we got the OpenAI compatible then ones, then you have to put in the separate config in there, yeah. So that's a local kind of LLM running using Llama or whatever. Yeah. All right. And those kind of config details are in GitHub. There's a lot more configs. Like you can set your default consistency level in here, or you can, require confirmation to be set to true, like the one Johnny was asking about safety around dropping key spaces. You can specify the location of your history file, etc. Yeah, it all goes in here. Okay. So then in terms of installing cqlai apt-get, yeah, so this was one I ran earlier, so it's already updated on my machine, but if you run it, yeah, you can just, it's already the latest version. But yes, it gets installed using a single command line like this, and then you can just execute cql AI, and it picks up the JSON file and connects into my locally running Apache Cassandra 5.0.6. So the way I know that is because of this status bar at the bottom. So version 5.0.6, okay. The user I've connected with is Cassandra, and the host, it's localhost 127.0.0.1. That I could have specified the key space in the command line. Shows you the consistency level that it's at now, and the pagination size of your queries and your status of your tracing. Okay, so this I find it quite useful to see this. And there are other bits of information that gets displayed at the top as we execute queries and things like that as well. The auto fetch feature is if you got the pagination on, then when you're running query, it paginates to 100 rows, and then you have to kind of scroll down to get to the next to fetch the next 100 and so on. Of course, you can set the paging size larger and stuff, but you can set the auto fetch to be true, and then it will just fetch all the rows. It's not recommended, but sometimes you want to do that. So if you know that the number of rows is not that many, if you run this against production with auto fetch with billions of rows, then it might not be a good idea. So there we go. So then just to kind of quickly demonstrate a query. So I suppose I can just run a select statement. Start from this is a blank canvas, by the way. It's just an empty Cassandra. So it's got no tables created apart from the system ones. So yeah, by pressing tab at this point, it pulls up the auto completion of various key spaces that you've got here. So let's have a look at the schema and then press tab again. It gives you the list of tables that you've got for that particular key space. Select columns and then press enter. And voila, you get your tabular view of the results. And of course, it doesn't fit in this screen because it's got a lot of columns, this columns table. So then you can scroll sideways or use the page up and down keys to go up and down. Or you can use the mouse to go up and down. Yeah, mouse scroll. And then using the modifier key, which is an old key on Windows. I don't know about Mac, but if you do the mouse scroll, you can go sideways with a mouse as well. So yeah, so this is the kind of a power of the terminal UI application. cqlai depends on the history of the terminal, whereas I actually disable the history. So essentially the scroll bar from the terminal, and this is kind of a cached into the page memory of the terminal application to be able to do this scrolling up and down. Okay, and now I've executed the query, so you can see the last query that got executed at the top, the query response time, and then the number of rows that it responded back with. Okay, now tracing was off. Well, I'm going to enable it. Tracing on. All right, so then let's Control R gives you the history. So select star from system schema.columns again with the tracing enabled. So then you still see the same thing again, but we've got kind of different modes, so different views. So Alt F goes into the trace mode, and you'll be able to see the history tracing information of your last query. Okay, you can press F2 to go back, or F3 to go back to the table view. So you can switch between the table view or the tracing view. Okay.
That is so cool.
And then if you press F6, you can see the column type displayed up there. So you can toggle between the two. Okay. Of course, by default, it always shows you the partition key and clustering columns there. Okay, and then all of the other non-clustering columns. So if you do things like use system schema and then disk tables, it's a little bit more enhanced compared to the cqlai in that it shows you the primary keys, compaction type, compression type, and GC grace. So yeah, and there you go. So a lot of the kind of standard SQL meta commands are supported in here as well. Okay. And as you saw, autocomplete, query histories, etc., all in there. Now, if I do the select statement again, so there, and then going to the bottom, I can do save. And what it does is it saves the results of the last query to a file. Okay, so you can choose between CSV, JSON, or ASCII. So let's just do a CSV file, and then by default it gives you this kind of this incrementing number, but I can just go columns dot CSV file, press enter. And then if I go to a different view, columns.csv with some content in there. So if I do columns.csv, there we go. We got the query from this table saved into a CSV file. Of course, you can do the same thing for JSON, JSON format, and columns.json. Press enter, and then cat columns.json. Boom. Okay. So that's one way of kind of exporting the queries into text file. One of the reasons why I've had to do this is because with a cqlsh, you're kind of dependent on the history of the terminal. So you could just kind of do a selection of the text and then paste it in. But because of the way the terminal application works, I can't scroll up and down whilst I'm kind of selecting the text. So essentially, this is the way that allows me to save the copy and paste text out into a file. Okay. Yeah, it's one of those compromises, but I found it quite useful to be able to save whatever I just queried. All right. I mean, there's a lot more features around this, but let's move on to creating, let's just say, let's create a key space. So here's a query I prepared earlier. So it just creates an e-commerce key space, just a simple strategy. It's a single node replication factor 1, press enter. And then I'll demonstrate drop key space e-commerce. Confirm destructive command. Yeah, so this is the safety factor before execution of commands like drop. So execute. Boom. Well, of course, I know there's nothing in there, so I can just run it again and let's use it. Use e-commerce. And let's create some tables in there. So I've got some tables prepared. Cats create.cql. So let's copy this in. All right, and another one. Okay. All right, so I've created these tables into the e-commerce key space. And if you see in here, there's insert statements, so count inserts. So these are inserts that inserts into those two tables. Of course, the source inserts.cql should now work in cqlai. And boom, it's executed the 6 statements that was in the inserts.cql. Great. So then now I can do select start from e-commerce products. There we go. So it's got some vector. Comes up custom in the column type. It's got some vector data, some other information like this. All right. So a lot of these kind of standard cqlsh meta commands like source works as well. But then I now want to do an export. So cqlsh have a wonderful facility called copy to and from. And essentially what that allowed you to do was to export the content of a table into a CSV file. Now, what I wanted was actually not just CSV file, but I wanted the export of the files into either CSV, even JSON, or to Parquet. And I'm just going to do a demo of the Parquet. Hopefully this works. So copy products to products.parquet. Now, by looking at the file name extension, it automatically determines that it's going to be a Parquet file. So I don't need to specify the Parquet, but I can specify the Parquet type in the command line, even if I call it something else. Okay. Oops. So exported the 3 rows to products.parquet file, Parquet format. So automatically determine its Parquet, and let's have a look. So here we go, products.parquet. And then what I can do is use the duckdb products.parquet and select start from, oops. Products, I think. Boom, there you go. DuckDB, even though I've specified it's this blob is a UUID type, unfortunately DuckDB doesn't display it correctly, but yes, that allows us to at least see that it's created the Parquet file or the correct content. Okay, so we've got some tags in the set in there as well. If I make the window wider, it will show me all 10 columns. It's just truncating that to ... on some of the columns there. Of course, the import should work as well. So copy from and then yes, imported the 3 rows from Parquet file into Cassandra. All right. So yeah, I've demonstrated kind of the table navigations, the tracing capabilities, export, import, and there's quite a lot of other kind of features that are in there that are kind of little commands, utilities within the CQLSH, but also slightly enhanced in the in this version of CQL terminal application. Things like output command as well, which kind of just continually just saves everything into the file as you type select statements, etc. Then finally, the AI feature. So you can trigger the AI commands using .ai and then asking a question, or there's the AI conversation view by pressing F5. So we were in F2 mode, which is the CQL mode, to F5, the AI mode. And then you can ask questions like, give me the select statement for e-commerce products table. Of course, I can write the statement myself, but being lazy, I have to ask AI these days. Yeah, here we go. Select start from e-commerce.products. So one of the things it does is actually cqlai registers a whole bunch of tools against the AI. So things like the fuzzy search is available locally on the tools, as do key space names and table names and so on. So we can do things like give a select state for a table in e-commerce key space. That sounds like a prod. And what it does is the tool gets presented with the fuzzy search function, and here we go. And AI uses a fuzzy search function to find a table. So All right, how are we doing for time? I think we're probably over now.
Yeah, I was just gonna say, Hayato, we're at the top of the hour here. So just want to be respectful of folks' time. I'm happy to stay on and continue talking Cassandra all you want, but no, this is super cool. I love the AI mode. That's awesome. Have a conversation with your key space. That's sort of cool.
All right. So yes, just to kind of emphasize, it's an open source project. So we're more than happy to take comments, criticisms. We're available through GitHub. So do raise discussions, issues, anything you like against the project, and we'd love to hear from you.
Well, hey, like I said, it is the end of the session. Just hey, Hayato, Johnny, thank you both so much, for coming on and showing us what you got here. It's been really great. I'm happy to stick around if folks have questions, and I don't know what kind of time you two have, but yeah, if folks have questions, now's the time if you got them.
Yeah, no, happy to hang around for questions. Stunned silence.
Yeah.
Well, I'm curious if there's any plans to just turn like you can go into like an MCP mode. So if you're using an external tool like Claude Desktop
Well,
and yeah, and you're running SQL, if you're running SQL AI and say, oh, turn on AI or like MCP mode, you could just use that as like as a tool.
yeah, so I'll fill that one because this actually leads onto an interesting segue. So do you remember what I was saying that Workbench bundles CQSH Python?
Yeah,
We're replacing that with the cqlai application
yeah, makes sense.
and
Yeah.
leveraging all of the stuff. So everything you're seeing there in cqlai will be kind of fully integrated into desktop Workbench, and we're going to add a whole bunch of extra kind of AI stuff around that. And we're
Hmm.
looking at it's giving you the ability to launch an MCP server on your desktop using the Workbench connections to then connect across to your cluster, and then you can be using Cloud Cloud on your desktop, interacting with your Workbench MCP. But the cool thing about it is it's your connection, it's your credentials. It's not like a centralized MCP server. It's running as you, as your permissions, etc. So we're going to put that once we get the Go SQL piece in, we're going to slop an MCP thing on Workbench, and then you can do it. And I would expect as well that will probably be available from the CLI tool as well. You can possibly start it as a daemon MCP server as well. And
Hmm.
I'm looking forward to that. There's a SEP out about allowing people to annotate your columns with descriptions and everything like that. That I think is waiting.
Yeah, that's done. Justin has finished the work. Yeah, that's interesting you bring that up
Yeah,
because I think that's going to make this even more interesting.
yeah, because you annotate everything, then the MCP and everything will be able to actually really understand your data. I think that's going to be cool.
Yeah, I just finished a review on it and tried that, and it works exactly as you hoped.
Yeah.
Brilliant. Looking forward to using it.
Well, it's the thing is that you can annotate key spaces, tables, columns, even UDTs, Johnny. You'll love that.
Yeah, more right clicks.
Yes.
That brings up an interesting question. I think, Puneet, you had asked about, you'd said interactive for a terminal app. I think the intent, though, is to make it keyboard oriented with an optional mouse still. Is that right? So like I saw different pop-ups and modals and that sort of thing, and but you're still able to navigate and do everything through the keyboard. Is that right?
Yeah, everything's keyboard driven, and then mouse is kind of a, the nice to have on top of that. Yeah.
Cool. Okay. Yeah. I just, in terms of design, I was just curious. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks for answering.
Um, all right.
I'm gonna say I just switched my CLI. I mean, this is it. I was like paying attention and not enough, and then at this point, I don't want to use CQLSH anymore.
Yeah. No, I think it's a really cool tool. It was interesting when we talked about it at Community Over Code, how many people were quite a small kind of binary, a single small install. That was one of the thing the complaints we were hearing was what Hayato was talking about with the Python stuff, and not also
Mm.
size of it. If you're spinning up a container to do that connection, it gets bigger and bigger. So um, that seems to solve that as well. So it's much smaller.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot in there in terms of CQL and protocol specification, all the kind of different syntax that it needs to support. So, I mean, like supporting the UDT was hell, but I got there. And yeah, there's still to be lots of tests to be done. I'm on Windows, so it'd be great if other people on Macs can test the on the iTerm or iTerm 2 or whatever maybe, and Linux users out there. And I think a lot of Linux users, you want to use Terminator or GNOME shell or GNOME terminals and things like that. So yeah, it just needs a lot more kind of testing across multiple different desktops done on it as well. And I'm sure different key bindings might not quite work with certain platforms, but yeah, if you do find anything that doesn't work, I'm more than happy to kind of
Yeah, I'm
update.
actually interested about the TMUX support, like if that'll work.
Mm.
That that could be interesting. So yeah, something to try.
That'd be really freaky. You'd be seeing someone else kind of running your terminal.
Pair programming, man. It's not just an idea.
Yeah.
It's a way of life.
Yeah.
Could put an AI at the other end, kind of.
Yeah, that's probably what it would be. Hair shelling with my AI friends.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's
Just
kind of
a
like
quick question about the Parquet. So the Parquet, you can store results. Is there any eye towards like, are you planning on making that? Because like having it columnar for export for an open format, that's great. I'm just kind of wondering if there's a whole ecosystem of like larger scale stuff. I don't think that's what that's intended for. That's mostly for just the results from a specific CQL query. Is that right?
That's right. I mean, it's only as performant as a single node executing the table, right? So it's got to
That's
be
what I figured. Okay. I just want to make
so
sure I was getting the intent there.
yeah. So I mean, look, you can spin up multiple cqlais and then start to specify the partition ranges of the query like a Spark does, but hey, you've got other tools as you say. So it's really kind of meant to be like a bit like CQLSH, like copy to and from. That's all it is. Just that it allows you to do this in different formats, and it's up to people to use it in the way they want to use it. But as I said, it's just one connection. So
Well, we do just point everyone to the sub-project, analytics sub-project, where if you want to do large scale analytics, that's the place to do it.
yeah, exactly. Yeah, I started thinking about should I kind of add the object storage kind of integration, but then it just blows up the binary size as well. I've tried it, and I decided to not do that. We've got other tools for this.
Yeah, but certainly Parquet in terms of copy to is really handy, and it like a nice open format to copy to, um, in addition to JSON. So I really appreciate that. I just want to make sure I understood the limitations there, and it makes sense. And so yeah, for reaching for like massive exports or whatever, that's where the other tools come into play. So, but yeah, that's great. I was happy to see the Parquet as an option that you added.
Yeah, it uses Apache Arrow Go version of it in the code. So yeah, another great Apache project.
Yeah, Data Fusion is the other one, another Apache project, which would fit well with this.
All right. But yeah, as I said, happy to take any kind of feature requests and things like that. And I'm sure once people start using it, they'll come across bugs and things. So yeah, please do raise them in GitHub. I'll be monitoring that closely.
All right. Well,
All
I think
right.
that just about does it. Hey, again, Hayato, Johnny, thank you both very much, and it was great to see everyone here. This this is actually one of our bigger attended workshops that we've done. So yeah, it's pretty cool that everybody made it out. It was great to see y'all. So
Cool.
Right. Thanks for organizing it, Aaron. And
Thanks,
great to see you, everyone.
Thank you.
Thanks, Hayato. Thanks,
hey,
Johnny.
have a great
guys.
day. We'll see y'all later.
Cheers.
Bye.